Hello everyone and welcome. Welcome to another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast I run over here on youtube.com /UC Campbell. Yes, it is still under the name UC Campbell in the terms of the hyperlink, which is a little bit weird, but it is still under the full channel of channel GodSaw at this time, mainly just due to the factors of things I had set up in the past and not recognizing that I was going to change channel names and everything like that. But that's for a different story for a different time, because we're not here to talk about things like that. We're not here to talk about what the YouTube channel is doing and everything on that one. If I do anything like that, I do a weekend preview for you, which I may be doing today anyway, at some point in time, to go along with it. Here, we talk about wrestling. And yes, this is the wrestling video podcast that I do run with the channel and everything, as the Batman is back and raring and ready to go back into the chat cave. And he changed his name back to Batman. He was Bruce Lee last week. And so good to see him back as the Batman for this week. Maybe he'll change it next week. I think that might be his gimmick. I think that might be his gimmick going down here. I don't know, but we'll see. We will see on that side. He has a nice little gimmick going on that one for the time being. But let's get into it this week with all of the wrestling news and everything. I'm not going to talk about WWE Evolution in the wrestling news side of everything. That's going to be more safe for Raw, since it did happen on Monday Night Raw. We're going to probably talk about it a little bit more over there with everything. But we're going to start off the day with, it is Sunday, and usually when you get some news on Sunday, it usually ends up not being a good thing. And guess what? Been a gimmick with me since 2014 and 2018. I like the gimmick. I do like the gimmick, and that kind of puts a smile to my face for what a day that has started on this Sunday to be a very somber day. We have had confirms, and starting off on the wrestling news, we are going to start off on a very sad note with everything. We did have confirmation of 3 passings in the wrestling world. One with being Brickhouse Brown. I'm not very familiar with Brickhouse Brown and everything he had done in wrestling, so I did have to read up on him a little bit. Luckily, Dave Meltzer did post up something with him and everything, basically talking about he had started starting his wrestling career in Texas in 1982, and he had been doing things in San Antonio. He was apparently he had been trained by Terry Funk as well. And he ended up seeing his best success within the Tennessee territories. Like I said, I don't know much about him and everything on that side, but it is always a sad day when someone does pass away inside of the wrestling world with any of the wrestlers and everything. And today is definitely one of those days, so I wanted to take at least a little bit of time to, even though I didn't really know his wrestling career, to talk about it briefly is at the least, and give him some acknowledgement on that side of everything. So he had passed away this morning from a bout with cancer that he had, and it's very unfortunate. And he had been battling the cancer. Let's double check everything here. It seems like he had been okay, he had sorry, I'm still kind of reading up on this one a little bit. But, he had, been going through a bout of cancer and everything, and he lost that battle today. Unfortunately, again, cancer gets another one to you. Gets another one of not just in the terms of wrestlers, but in the terms of people. And, as it's always been going on, we are continually still trying to find cures for it and everything on that side. And it's unfortunate that we had to lose another person to such a crappy disease to begin with, to go along with it. The second one, and this one's a pretty big one as well. This one is a pretty big one on the side of wrestlers that we have lost. Today was also the passing of Nikolai Volkov. For people who don't know what Nikolai Volkov had done, he was, first of all, he played a the Russian sympathizer gimmick for a long period of time. He played heel for a period of time and even went babyface while being in the WWF back in the day. One of his biggest accomplishments, and probably things that most people will kind of remember him on, for people who are either historians or people who are old enough to remember it, is that he was the guy who ended Bruno Sammartino's 8-year run with the WWF Championship, basically ending that legendary run. He was the guy who had ended it in a match at Madison Square Garden, which they had dubbed the night that the Garden went silent. Basically, when he beat Bruno, like, the place was in such shock and awe that that the place was just silent for everything. No one could believe it. So that was definitely one of his biggest accomplishments inside of the wrestling world, and again, another sad loss on the side of everything. All three of these are going to be very sad losses today. And yeah, Nikolai Volkov, he did have something massive and big and historic in his side in the terms of the wrestling history by being the one that ended Bruno's legendary run with that title a long time ago. And again, like I said, and I'm going to kind of be repeating myself on this one, a very sad loss. But there was a third one today, and it's not any less important than the other two in that side. And that was that it was reported earlier today that he had been hospitalized, but now it's been confirmed that he has passed away. It was Brian Christopher Lawler, aka Grandmaster Sexay from Too Cool, if you remember that during the Attitude Era. He had passed away today on what was, and this one's even harder to really fully comprehend on everything. The other ones were, they felt like they were more natural or types of passing away. Brian Christopher had apparently, made an attempt on his life and everything, and apparently, it didn't work initially. He was rushed to the hospital, put on life support, and they were saying that it wasn't good throughout the morning, and it did end out being that he had passed away through the day. And it has been confirmed that yes, he has passed away. He is gone. It hits me a little bit harder on that one due to the fact that I had a family member a few years back that had that went through the same style of thing. So it hits me a little bit harder. So sorry, I'm getting a little bit more emotional at this point in time than I was with the other two. Like I said, this one kind of hits home a little bit more because I had that family member a few years back, and it sucks. It definitely does. And you think about it every day when you go about it. And it's one of those things that I'm trying to keep a smile, but I'm not. I know. On this one, I try to be happy all the time, but these are, sad things. And it conjured up memories of that family member from a few years back, and it definitely is one of those things that you always. And I'm sure the people around Brian probably wish they could have done more as well. I'm hoping that the rumors of him attempting to do a suicide are wrong, but all indications are that that was not the case. That's why it's kind of hitting me a little bit harder, that it brought up those memories. And it's one of those things that you always think about, and you wonder if there was something you can do. And I even think about that. I think about that from I can't say I think about it every day anymore, but I do think about it from time to time with anybody who goes through those situations or anything like that. So, yeah, massive losses today, all three. One hit me a little bit harder than some of the others, but, you know, but all three massive losses, condolences and everything that go out to the family members and everything for their losses today, and it's definitely a sad day. All right, okay. I'm going to take a brief moment here. I'm going to take a brief moment. So, all right, we're away from all the sad things, everything on that side. Like I said, condolences and everything out to all those family members. But onto the, you know, now that we are going forward on that side, we'll go into some other news that went down this week. And a couple of things that went down this week were potential for people leaving, potential for people coming in. And one big name that was definitely brought in there, and you got to think about, and you do have to think about it, it's been about 3 years since they did come in, and all four of these guys did sign a 3-year contract with the WWE. AJ Styles, The Club, Gallows and Anderson, and Shinsuke Nakamura. They all signed 3-year contracts. I think all three of them signed 3-year contracts when they came over from New Japan, but definitely AJ Styles and Shinsuke did. Now, more than likely, AJ Styles, he's not going anywhere. He's like, one of his aspects of coming to the WWE was to come back to the United States to be around his family a lot more often than where he was. The big thing about it, and considering his WWE run so far, and we got to really think about it too, that yeah, it's only 5 months away now that you think about it, that these contracts are going to be up. And that is Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, with the Club, it's also going to be interesting to see if they stay as well. They might. Maybe they're wanting to be in the U.S. as well, more than anybody else. More than anybody else on that side to go along with it. But Shinsuke is the biggest question out of all of them. And the reason that is that being is that, you know, New Japan's probably interested in bringing him back, but is WWE interested in keeping him for longer? I think they are. I do think that they are interested in keeping him for longer, but I guess the biggest question, truthfully, is that does Shinsuke want to go back to New Japan? A lot of rumors have been going around, and there's been a lot of speculation about it as well. There's a lot of things that are also out there that say, yeah, he could definitely go back to New Japan. You know, he would probably be treated as a bigger star in New Japan, probably going after heavyweight title matches and probably potentially winning them. Though he's had WWE title matches here here since his time in the U.S., and he was treated very well in NXT as well. To go along with it. It's not like the WWE hasn't treated him like a big star. They actually have. It's just that he's never won the main title, or he hasn't really won the big feuds or anything like that. He's kind of always come up short on that one. He does at least have a U.S. title run going on now, which is actually kind of interesting to go along with his heel turn that he did back at WrestleMania as well. But there were some other things that kind of said that, you know, there's a lot of talk saying, you know, New Japan's very interested, and I wouldn't be shocked. But there's a lot of things saying that maybe Shinsuke's not going to go back to New Japan either around that time. To go along around that time when his contract is up. One being, there's a massive, now granted, these are all rumors. The reason that he came to WWE was because he wanted to tone down his strong style. That if he was sticking in New Japan, that he felt like his body was possibly breaking down, and it was no longer going to be good for him to go the style that he was doing. To go along with it. So his thought process of coming over to the WWE is that he's been able to tone it down. It's going to be easier on his body and he'll have a longer career to go along with it. That's one reason why he might stick around with WWE. Another reason that is a very interesting indicator that he might not be going back to Japan is that his family had moved in with him in Tampa. He lives in Florida now. He doesn't live over in Japan or anything like that. He actually lives in Florida, and his family is there with him. So there's a good possibility that maybe he's sticking around because he wants to stay in the U.S. He has his family here. He doesn't want to move them back up and move back to Japan with everything on that one. It's not good to always be moving around. For people who've been in families that move around a lot, it's not really good on the families to keep them moving from city to city to city, to new home to new home to new home to new school, anything like that. It's never really been that good on families and kids and everything on that side. So it would be an interesting one to see if Shinsuke, when his contract is up, does he stay with WWE? And those are a couple of indicators that would say, yeah, he probably will. He might stay, but what would New Japan be able to do? As there's like a little gnat flying around me right now, and I'm getting very annoyed by it. Missed him. Oh well. Oh well. And the now I've lost my train of thought. There we go. Botch. Welcome to Botchamania, GodSaw's Turnbuckle edition. But what would New Japan be able to throw at Shinsuke to bring him back over to the fold, and would he bring his style back with New Japan to go along with it, or would he continue on with a more toned down version of Shinsuke Nakamura? You have to admit that it's been a little bit more of a toned down Shinsuke Nakamura. The only match that you can really say that he went full on, I would say full on, with a New Japan style, with his New Japan style of wrestling and strong style, had to have been his match with Sami Zayn back on TakeOver in Dallas, right as he was coming in. That's probably the only time that he's really gone that far. Now, don't get me wrong, he's had some really good matches here on main roster to go along with it. It took some time, but he's had some really good matches. His last match with AJ was extremely good as well. So, it's not like he can't still put on good matches with a toned down style. He definitely can. But we'll see what he ends up doing. It'll be an interesting thing to see what happens with Shinsuke as that January time and that time that his contract could be up, what he ends up doing. I mean, we're getting very close to Daniel Bryan's contract being up as well, and we haven't really heard anything on whether or not he's re-signed. Most people are saying that he probably will, but you don't know. And we don't know. We'll see where it ends out going. So it's an interesting little snippet to keep in the back of your mind for a later time. Is Shinsuke staying, or is he going to be going back to New Japan to go along with it? In the terms of, and speaking of New Japan, on the terms of really being able to watch any of the G1 this week, I have not watched that much of the G1 this week. For purposes of time, I had not been able to, but I've caught little glimpses here and there. This whole new version of Okada is very interesting, to say the least, with him coming out with balloons and everything on that side. It's a very interesting thing. Some of the guys are kind of going through a little bit of a gimmick change, at least for the G1 time. So, like I said, it's very interesting to see what they're doing with the G1 as well. I'm going to try to either watch a few of the nights here soon, at least the block matches, maybe not the tag matches beforehand, and try to get caught up a little bit, but to see where everything is going as well. But when we were talking about people leaving, well, there's a massive rumor somebody's coming in, and that is Matt Riddle. For purposes of people knowing, with Matt Riddle, he is usually around the UK side of everything. On the UK side, everything to go along with that, and he's definitely a guy who I've seen a few of his matches. Typically, he wrestles barefoot, so that'll be interesting to see if the rumors are true. But there's a massive rumor going around that Matt Riddle, because of some bookings he had been taken off of, which includes also PWG's Battle of Los Angeles, one of their bigger shows of the year for PWG. That Matt Riddle was initially advertised for that, but he is now off. And there's even been a promotional poster that was taken down a little bit later, saying from CZW, that was saying it's like, come see Matt Riddle and what is going to be one of his last independent appearances before going to NXT. They actually released that. I wish I got a picture of that, but it's hilarious. It's hilarious to think that someone would release that with CZW and everything. Poor marketing choices, right? Right? But with him being pulled out of some of these other events, leads people to start speculating, and that speculation is that he's going to the NXT brand with WWE, and that's why I leave it interesting to see whether or not he would keep the barefoot style with WWE. As many of you know, Rusev, or when he was known as Alexander Rusev, and then later just as Rusev as well, he was a barefoot competitor originally as well, but he did not. After a broken, was it a broken ankle? I think it was a broken ankle or a slightly fractured or a heavily sprained ankle that he had. That's when he went to boots. So it'll be interesting to see if Matt Riddle keeps that style with the wrestling barefoot, anything like that. He kind of looks like one of the Von Erichs to go along with it on that side of everything. If you remember any Von Erich stuff, was it Kerry? I forget which one, but one of them always wrestled barefoot as well, but he didn't do it in WWE, which I believe it was that guy who had come in and he wore boots to go along with it, because he was also known as the Texas Tornado. I forget which Von Erich it was. That's my memory lapsing at this time on that one. But that will be interesting to see. For other purposes of Matt Riddle, I've only seen a couple of his matches through what was called WCPW, now known as Defiant. I saw a few matches there, and I saw another spatter of matches elsewhere as well. He's pretty good. He's definitely pretty good in the ring, brings an MMA style to go along with it, which, by the way, he was once fighting in UFC. And the reason why he wasn't apparently was actually pretty good there. But the reason why he wasn't in UFC was because he got caught with a couple of drug violations, not for steroids or anything, but because apparently he likes to smoke pot to go along with it. So that leaves as another interesting thing that he's going to WWE, but he's also a big fan of smoking weed, smoking pot, anything like that. And that's always been kind of a no-no in WWE as well. I don't think it leads to suspensions anymore. I think it only leads to fines on that one. But it's interesting to see of whether or not this is a risk he wants to take, and he still does his normal lifestyle and everything, or is he going to change his lifestyle for purposes of coming over to WWE, and that's why he wanted to come now versus at a later time. It's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening if it is true that Matt Riddle is coming to WWE's NXT program. So, like I said, it will be an interesting one. On the other side of everything, that is pretty much it for the news this week. Obviously, there's another little bigger snippet of news that we're going to go ahead and kind of start with, because we're going to go into the Monday Night Raw review for July 23rd, 2018. And the show started off with Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon being out on the stage, and he and basically was kind of just quickly addressing the crowd and everything. He didn't really do much here. He brought out Stephanie McMahon and Triple H, and they had the entire roster on the rampway. Before, like, Stephanie, and this was for Stephanie's big announcement, everything on that one. And before Stephanie made the announcement, Triple H got on the microphone and cut a very passionate promo. A very passionate promo about everybody who's ever stepped in the ring before, the bonds that wrestlers have when they're in the ring and everything. And then he brought the women forward, all the women forward there, which he continued on with an extremely, like I said, you could tell everything he was saying was actually coming from the heart on this one. Because it didn't feel like it was like a full-on scripted promo or anything like that, telling, you know, how proud he was of all of them, how everyone in the back supports them, and all the men that support them, and everything on that side. And there's a lot more to that promo as well. I recommend you watching the entire segment and watching both Triple H and Stephanie's promos for this one, on this, because they did really good on this. And of course, it got, you know, more real than it was necessarily about the TV show. So after this, Stephanie McMahon ends out announcing WWE Evolution, WWE's first ever all-women's pay-per-view. Let's start this off properly and say it's about time. But it also goes to show that they have to announce in 2018. Now let's think about this, because Stephanie, you know, talks about the hashtag and everything in this one, and they're right. There's a bit of the fans that helped start this, saying, hey, we want the women to have a more prominent role and better chances within the WWE. But she kind of made it feel like it was all the fans, where the fans were kind of turned by the talent in NXT. The Paige Emma match, for one, that first NXT, it wasn't a takeover then, it was NXT Arrival, for the first one. That Paige Emma match that they had on there started turning people around. The other talent in NXT, such as with everyone that was down there, the four horsewomen, Bayley, Sasha, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte. Alexa Bliss was down there. Carmella was down there. Those two didn't necessarily do too much during their time in NXT, but, you know, they've shown a lot more since coming up to the main roster as well. You also, you know, everything with Asuka and everything on that side. Talent that they were seeing down there also played a massive hand in getting that whole hashtag that happened 3 years ago to start happening. It wasn't even 3 years ago, it was 4 years ago. To start going forward more. That the hashtag give divas a chance, and then boom, they got that chance. And everything to go along with it. No, it was 2015. I'm wrong. I was wrong. It was 2015. It was right before NXT, the first NXT Takeover Brooklyn, that everything really got going on that one to get that proper. So you had that played a part in it to get that hashtag going. And here's going to be the weird thing, because this kind of plays into some of the old stuff with some of the old styles of how you know, divas and everything like that. But oddly enough, I'm going to put also a little bit of the credit towards Total Bellas, or not Total Bellas, but Total Divas to go along with it. So you had the hardcore fans that started caring about the women's matches that were happening on NXT, knowing that these women were going to come up to the main roster and, you know, maybe start getting used extremely poorly. And you even say that, yes, some of them are still used extremely poorly on that side of everything. But then you also had the casual fans that were watching Total Divas as well, and they see this one match, and then AJ Lee also, to go along with it, kind of got things going as well with the whole hashtag Give Divas a Chance, and it became a huge storm that kept it going for those 3 days. So you had the fans that were caring about the women's matches we were seeing down in NXT. We wanted to see them used properly when they came up. You had the casual fans that was like, hey, we're actually kind of getting into these women that you have here, that you're showing on the Total Divas show, but yet you give them only 30-second matches on Raw or SmackDown or something like that. And they mesh together to make that happen. It's one of those few times that I kind of give it to all sides. The talent that we were seeing, showing that the talent they had already was actually not bad, to go along with it. And as long as they had a different, you know, a longer platform and a longer time to, you know, get things over, you got to see that, and boom. That's how that all started. At least that's how I felt like it all started. And it was definitely one of those things that's like, okay, now they're getting a chance. And they ran with it. They didn't just like the women that were there, the talent that was there is like, okay, you have your opportunity. And what did they do? They took the ball and they ran with it. And that's how I felt like everything really got started on that side of everything. They definitely ended up proving themselves and everything on that side, that you can have spectacular matches, great storytelling to some of those matches to go along with it. And that, you know, they can captivate that crowd just as well as the guys can, to go along with it. So, like I said, they were given, I won't say they were given opportunities, they earned opportunities, and then when they earned those opportunities, they ran with those opportunities and kept going more and more and more and more. But again, this also shows how behind the times WWE is that now they're announcing their first ever women's pay-per-view in 2018. When for years, Shimmer, Shine, Stardom, just to name the 3 major ones that were all women's promotions, 2 of them here in the United States and in North America in general, to go along with it. Stardom being over in Japan. There's another one that's coming around that's called Rise as well. If you really want to go crazy about it, 5 years ago, TNA or Impact Wrestling was doing those one night only pay-per-views once they had stopped doing major pay-per-views every month. And they were doing cheaper one-night only pay-per-views, had been doing knockout-only pay-per-views for the last 5 years, including them teaming up with Rise this year, not to do a pay-per-view, but to do a special that was on Twitch.tv on the Impact's channel, to go along with it. So they had been doing it for already 5 years. You already have promotions doing it in this country to begin with. As well, and it just goes to show that yes, WWE's finally caught up, and let's just say in the terms of a first time ever, this is the first time ever on the biggest stage, and will more than likely also, as that little gnat, also will be one of those things that will probably be one of the biggest crowds for an all-women show as well, on October 28th, to go along with it, which they hammered home a lot. Don't get me wrong. Once WWE announced it, they hammered it home, and they hammered it home all night on Raw and on SmackDown to go along with it. That's why I'm kind of talking about it now versus talking about all of it in the other side of everything. To go along with it. But it is, like I said, I'm massively happy that we're getting those we're finally getting that pay-per-view at some point in time, and they've announced what could be potentially a pretty good card, or it has the potentials of being a pretty good card, because it's not only going to have Raw, it's not only going to have SmackDown, it's going to have the NXT women in there. There's going to be some of the women that are coming in from the past as well. There's already been they've already announced that Trish, Lita, and Beth Phoenix will be there. We'll see how they end out going. Hopefully to go along with it, hey, why can't we have Renee Young in the commentary booth to go along with that? I guess they could, if they don't want Beth Phoenix to have a match, I guess you could have Renee Young and Beth Phoenix do the commentary, and, you know, go full on with all of this on all sides. On all sides of everything to go along with it as well. Renee Young's already been shown to be a good interviewer, and if you watched her time in NXT as well, she's not that bad of a commentator as well. She had some time where she was doing some of the NXT takeovers on commentary and everything. You know, put her on the commentary, for this pay-per-view as well. I think it would be good. I do. I'm actually very interested in seeing what comes out of this. Matches wise, I think they've got potential for some good matches. Even based off of the, you know, with champions and everything that they go along with it, because Raw Women's title, SmackDown Women's title, NXT Women's title on the line. There's a rumor that the NXT UK title will be on the line on the show as well, and the finals for the second Mae Young Classic. So has potential of being extremely good, and it'll be interesting to see what they go along with it. I've kind of glossed over it a little bit because so far, but, you know, like I said, once they made the announcement, every promo on Monday and Tuesday, and hopefully this isn't going to be something that's going on for like the next 3 months to go along with it, because they did kind of like jam it down our throats. It's like we're patting ourselves on the back. We did such a good thing. And it's like, yeah, you did. Now, don't make people turn on it. I doubt I'll turn on it myself, but every promo with the exception of a couple, but every promo had something about it, which I kind of got. That, you know, they're going to do something like that, and it's kind of like they're you're talking about it. And you got to give that feeling. It's like, oh, everybody's talking about it. So they had everybody kind of do their own promo in there. And I liked how they brought some continuity into it as well. I liked how Braun Strowman, even though technically as a monster among men, he shouldn't really be talking about things like that, but I liked how he brought his continuity with the mixed match challenge with his partner being Alexa Bliss on that one. I liked certain things like that, and I thought it was pretty. I thought, you know, some of the guys were pretty good about how they got it in there. AJ Styles on SmackDown got a pretty good way of bringing it into the fold as well. I would expect Paige to talk about it on there, but hopefully it's not one of those things that gets mentioned every segment for like the next couple of months, because I think people will start kind of toning it down or not really liking it as much. But we are going to get that pay-per-view in October, which is bringing October to be a very interesting month. You have the Australia show in October, on October 6th. They have their monthly pay-per-view as well, which I think is in Boston that month. I'm not sure what it is. Originally it was going to be tables, ladders, and chairs, but it's been changed to something else. Or it looks like it might be changed to something else that's not being named that. And then at the end of the month, we have the WWE Evolution pay-per-view. It's going to be an interesting month. It's definitely going to be an interesting month to see what they do storyline-wise and setting up storyline-wise to go into this pay-per-view, but also the other pay-per-views to go along with it. So it'll be an interesting one to see. I'm very, like I said at the beginning of this, kind of being happy that the announcement was made, but semi-rant also with, you know, how far behind WWE was about doing all things like this as well. I'm very happy the pay-per-view is happening. It has the potential of being a really good card. We'll see what matches that they actually make. There's a lot of different dream matches that could potentially happen, and then there's also a lot of other matches, if they build the stories going into them as well, that could be really, really good. Also, based off of what we got with the Mae Young Classic last year, the finals could be really good as well. And overall, I think it could be one of those shows that's like, yeah, that was actually really, really good. And hopefully they keep, and if it ends out being really, really good, they end up doing it every year. I think that if, you know, you have a proven commodity on that one, you should go with it. If it is deemed a success, either based off of show quality or the attendance or whatever it is that they need to deem it a success, hopefully it's a success so they can keep doing it every single year. That's gonna be the main question on that one. But overall, like I said, I'm very happy the announcement was made. Is WWE behind the times on it? Yeah, they are. But at least it's finally happening. Now, like I said, after that rant, after that bit of a rant, to go along with it, with the rest of Raw, I wouldn't say a pretty interesting Raw, but it was a decent enough Raw. It wasn't all that great of a Monday Night Raw, but it was okay. You had the right after all this, you did have a promo from the B team, and basically them getting hyped up and everything for their match, and they go for their tag team title match, and they realized they forgot the belts. I thought that little bit was funny on that one. They have Elias throughout the entire night trying to sing throughout the entire bit. He wanted to sing because he had just released his album, so he was going to sing a song for the crowd and everything. First time around, he got interrupted by Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. Then he got interrupted later on in the night by Finn Balor. Then he also got interrupted later in the night by the Authors of Pain and Braun Strowman as well, to go along with that. And I think the last time he tried was with... I think the last time he tried, Kurt Angle initially came out and then said that he was like, I'm not here to fully interrupt him, even though he did interrupt him. And it's like, no, I'm giving the floor to you. Okay. And it's like, oh, okay. And then he starts going, and it's like, you know what? Where am I? Cincinnati? Which is my my original hometown, by the way, on that one, which I kind of like how he runs down everybody's hometown on that one. I would boo this guy. I would boo this guy because I try to play the kayfabe a little bit when I'm when I'm at the shows. Like here, I'll talk about how much I like it and everything. But when I go to the shows, I keep to the kayfabe a little bit on that side of everything. So I would massively boo this guy as well, to go along with it. He calls them the worst group of people he's ever been around. Horrible city. You know what? You don't deserve to hear me sing, and then walks off. Well played. Well played. Well played on that one. Also on the Monday Night Raw, the B team did beat Woken Matt and Bray Wyatt to keep the tag team titles. It was a decent enough match. They continue on these like fluky style wins. You had Bray Wyatt, like you had the Twist of Fate hit on Curtis Axel. Bo Dallas broke it up, but Bray Wyatt tried to charge Bo Dallas, but he stepped out of the way and throws Bray into Matt, which causes the roll up for Curtis to get the pinfall. We also got more interaction between Bray and Bo Dallas as well, which was received pretty well by the crowd, knowing that they're actually brothers. Also, the line that Bo Dallas gave to Curtis Axel, the brother I never had, during their promo. Well played. Well played on that one. You had a backstage bit with Finn Balor and Baron Corbin. Balor was talking to Chad Gable, and then people are moving Balor's stuff around. And they basically, once he sees that someone's moving his jacket, and recognizes the jacket, is like, wait a minute, what's going on? It's like, well, we've been given strict orders to move your stuff to a new locker room. And he was like, by who? By Constable Corbin. Which they bring it to the new locker room, which is like this little playhouse that you would like, this little kid's playhouse and everything. Corbin makes this whole shtick of, people, or as like of a person of his stature and everything on that side. But I love how Finn turned it around. It's like, you know what? You're actually a good constable. I've always wanted a Finn's Funhouse. I'm like, well played. And of course, Corbin gets mad because Balor's not angry at him, that he just plays it off. Well played. I actually kind of like that one. I chuckled a little bit on that side of everything, which did lead later to the later in the night. Finn did have a match with Drew McIntyre, which was actually going really well. I thought the match itself was pretty good. Wasn't going to end. You knew it wasn't going to end in like a clean victory or anything like that. It ends up being Finn winning by DQ when Dolph trips him on the top rope when he's going for the coup de grace. They continue to beat down Finn. Seth Rollins makes the save, led to Kurt Angle making the Teddy Long special a tag match, and Finn and Seth faced off against Drew and Dolph, and it was, again, another good match between the two of them. These were probably some of the better matches of the night, both of these ones. And Finn and Seth winning when Seth hit a curb stomp on Dolph Ziggler, and now Dolph is going to have a one-on-one match at SummerSlam, though this could probably change as well, with Seth Rollins for the IC title. That one could possibly change as well. There's a few rumors going on about that one. Sasha and Bayley. They're friends again. You know what? If this is long-term storytelling, I can put up with this. Only because they can use this stuff for video packages for later. But the promo they cut backstage was... It was fine for what it was. They basically... They brought them back to being kind of besties again. And it's like... They figured out their feelings and everything, and then they had a match against some locals, and of course Sasha and Bayley won. They had a big hug out at the end. Like I said, if they're doing this stuff now so they can have video package stuff for later, I'm okay with that. But there was also that one piece is like, are they going to do the turn here? Are they going to do the turn here? Is Sasha goading Bayley in for the hug, and then she's going to, beat her down like Bayley beat Sasha down a few weeks ago? Ended out not being that, but there was a piece of you thinking in your mind is like, Bayley, I wouldn't trust her. I wouldn't. Oh, okay, it's not happening this week. All right, we'll see where it goes. Braun Strowman also during his promo did cut, basically putting everybody on notice that would be in the Universal title match. Brock Lesnar, potentially Lashley and Roman. Kevin Owens comes out basically saying, I like how Kevin Owens did this. He brought his family into it, saying it's like the only reason why he wanted to be Braun Strowman's friend was because his son Owen was like, wanted to like mimic this whole thing with him and Nicholas from WrestleMania and everything on that side. But now that they're scared based off of what Braun had done to him and everything, and he wanted to take everything away from Braun. This brought out Constable Corbin. I'm trying to keep him. I'll try to keep it as Constable Corbin instead of just Baron Corbin on that one. Or what was it? Stephanie McMahon's personally appointed constable of Monday Night Raw, Baron Corbin. I think that's the full title. But they said they had to try. He had to try to find a way to get control of Braun's temper. So he brought out Jinder Mahal, and they started doing those breathing exercises that they're doing, and they keep saying Shanti, Shanti. Yes, Jinder Mahal's back to doing that again after what he had done on SmackDown, where he was kind of just a jerk, and he won the WWE title by doing it. Now he's back to being this whole breathing and meditating gimmick again, so I guess that means he's not going to be doing too much. And of course, Strowman had his own mantra, which was, get these hands. and he ends out destroying, which is hilarious. He says, "Get these hands," and then kicks Jinder Mahal right afterwards, and then he destroys Sunil Singh to go along with it. Mickie James took on Natalya. Mickie James won in what was a pretty good match, decent enough match. Alexa was pretty much causing distractions throughout the entire match, and allowed for Mickie to hit the mid kick on Natalya to pick up the victory. You had a couple of promos as well from Lashley and Roman about their match later on in the night. Then you also got a Authors of Pain promo, which was weird. It was really weird. I really wish they would have kept Paul Ellering around to do all the talking. So they basically are calling out any tag team except for Titus Worldwide because they're done with Titus Worldwide. So of course, who comes out? Titus Worldwide. That's what's supposed to happen. And it did. And Titus and Apollo, they cut a pretty decent promo. I would say they're, talking about what kind of person Titus is and everything, and what he can do for AOP and everything on that side. But AOP's not having any of it, and it's like, okay, these guys will never learn. And of course, they cut this line. It's like, what can you learn us? I really wish they kept Paul Ellering. Really do, but it is what it is. AOP in the ring's good. I like them in the ring, but since main roster, and by that I mean they got called up the night after WrestleMania, was there for a couple weeks and then disappeared for 3 months. They haven't done much, and now they have to cut their own promos and everything to go along with it. But this also led to Titus and Apollo end up being the ones that actually attacks and clears the ring of them as well. It's like, what? But they just squashed them for 2 weeks, and now they're getting cleared of the ring by them, and it's like, really okay. Well, I guess this is where they're going with it. It was a really weird segment. I'm not gonna lie, it was a really weird segment. But it's gonna lead to more stuff with Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews going up against AOP. So we'll see how it ends up going. Is it gonna lead to another squash match? Maybe. I don't know. Then you had Stephanie and Kurt backstage. This brought up Kevin Owens and Constable Baron Corbin. Owens basically challenges Braun again. And I like how Kurt Angle's actions were, it's like, you really want to face Braun again? It's like, yes, but if I win in any way, which includes pinfall, submission, disqualification, count out, he gets the Money in the Bank contract. Kurt was initially not for it, but Stephanie is like, I kind of like it. It's done. And you end up getting a match at SummerSlam for the Money in the Bank contract with Kevin Owens going up against Braun Strowman, which could be interesting. And guess what? There's actual stakes involved in the match as well, so it makes it more interesting to go along with it. With that, so you also, before we get to the main event, you had Tyler Breeze going up against Mojo Rawley again. Mojo Rawley goes over cleanly and quickly again. We didn't get anything. We got a quick promo from Bobby Roode, which seemed like it got ended abruptly, because he said he was talking about how Mojo was tweeting at him and said he can hide behind his keyboard, and that was it. It felt like there was another qualifier there, but nothing happened. And had to go along with it. And it was what it was. It was a quick match. It was over with quickly. Then you also had Ember Moon going up against Liv Morgan once again. So they're continuing on this whole Riot Squad thing where Ember Moon is fighting Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. They did not have Sarah Logan there, so she doesn't have the chance of picking up her getting revenge for her loss to Sarah Logan. So she goes up against it. Liv Morgan ends out winning. Liv Morgan's getting better in the ring, but what are they really doing? It seems like they're spinning their wheels there. They're not really doing much with it. So this leads us to the main event of the night, which was Bobby Lashley going up against Roman Reigns. Winner faces Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. Let's put a qualifier to this. Let's put a qualifier to this as saying that this was a really good match. Both Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns put on a really good match. But guess what? Lol, Roman wins. Yes, he gets his win back and is going to face Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam for the Universal title. Please just put it on him. In this, like, at this point in time, it's like, just end this with the whole Brock Roman thing. Now, I guess they could change it to a triple threat or something like that down the line. I don't know. But let's take a look at the title defenses. Recent title defenses. So, 3 out of the last... No. Is it 3? Yeah. 3 out of the last 5 title defenses that Brock has had, and also including a match before WrestleMania 32, and then also a match... what was it? Also a match, their match at WrestleMania 31. The last 3 out of the 5 times we've seen Brock Lesnar in a match, Roman Reigns has been in it in some way, shape, or form. SummerSlam last year, Fatal 4-Way match that also included Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe. To go along with that. Then the next couple of matches you had seen did not involve them. You had the match with Braun, and then you had the triple threat match with Braun and Kane. Guess who's been facing Brock Lesnar a lot as well? Also Braun Strowman, to go along with it. And then at WrestleMania, where we kind of thought it was, okay, it's done, it's over with. No, it's not. No, it's not. It was not over with. Brock won. Okay, greatest Royal Rumble. Okay, they can do the title change here. They do it in a controversial way, but they have Brock win. To go along with that as well, with the cage match. And it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. I think a lot of people are growing tired of it. I don't know. Like, if you really think about it, Braun's also been facing Brock a lot, but Roman's been facing Brock a lot, and it feels like to a certain point, does Roman really need another chance? Like, I feel like I would be more interested in this match, and I was interested going into the WrestleMania match because, yeah, people aren't liking Roman. Me personally, I don't mind Roman. Honestly, he probably gets a worse response than what people are doing just booing him with me. I have almost complete indifference to Roman. I don't react one way or the other. I think he's very good in the ring. I think he's better on the microphone than when he was saying suffer and succotash. So I do feel like to a certain degree Roman is earning his spot at the top of the card. But you can tell, now granted, on Monday, he was getting a very good reaction through, it was still mixed, but he was getting a good reaction from the Cincinnati crowd on that one. So they're kind of turning it a little bit around. They're not turning it around massively a lot, though. And you would imagine with the Brooklyn crowd, they're going to, you know, they're really going to go hard on this match if it doesn't get changed to some kind of triple threat, or if we get a cash-in or something like that to go along with it. You kind of know where the Brooklyn crowd's going to go with this one. It's definitely a lot more smarky of a town, everything on that side. They're going to boo the crap out of this match. Now, they've been doing a good job of turning Roman, or not Roman, but Brock to full heel to where people won't cheer him, but would those people boo or not boo Roman and cheer him instead just because he's going up against Brock? I don't think so. But it is what it is, and we're getting it again. I liked Lashley's reaction to the match. He lost the match. He shook his hand, and then he showed disappointment. It wasn't like, oh, big smile, I'm just gonna wave it off. No, he's not doing that. And it's one of those things that he showed a lot of disappointment on it. You could see him punching the, punching the staging and everything like that. He was like it hit him pretty hard on that one. So I liked that little bit of character bit out of it. Maybe it's saying, hey, maybe Lashley's not out of this in some way, shape, or form. And we'll see how it ends up going. But as of right now, we have Roman and Brock yet again. So after Monday Night Raw, of course, we have the SmackDown Live on Tuesday. So SmackDown Live for Tuesday on July 24th, 2018. We have a good show. We got a good show. I thought it was a pretty good show. I did find it to be fairly entertaining. The bit at the beginning with Miz and Maurice coming in with Monroe Sky was I thought was a nice little touch. They were coming in to do a world premiere party style thing for later on in the night, which brought them to the ring, and Randy Orton, solidifying himself as a heel, cut one of his best promos in years. He definitely did. So basically, he cut a promo on not only Jeff Hardy, but the whole crowd to go along with it. Basically explaining why he did what he did, because he felt disrespected, not by the superstars, but by the fans. He went classic heel on this one. And said, even bringing it out to the whole aspect, and I love the whole thing, that you get this on SmackDown a lot more. It's continuity from characters from years past. He brought up the whole factor of the Legend Killer gimmick and said he found out who the true Legend Killers were, the fans themselves. Cutting a promo on Jeff Hardy, even making mention to the fact that it's like, oh, you guys don't respect me because I either don't paint my face up and flail my arms around, or steal a catchy hand gesture to go along with it. I like this promo. I thought it came off really good, solidifying Randy Orton pretty much as a heel, full-on heel. So after that, you had Rusev going up against Andrade Cien Almas. This was a good match. I did enjoy this match between Almas and Rusev. You did have both Zelina Vega and Lana out there. No Aiden English right off the bat, but eventually Zelina Vega and Lana do start brawling. This brings out Aiden English to try to break it up and try to get Lana, Lana and Zelina broken up. At that point in time, I was like, try to catch that gnat again. There's a gnat flying around, and it's annoying me a little bit. It is. It's just a little bit. Okay, a lot. But Zelina Vega actually pushes English into Lana, causing her to fall down, and it cost Rusev the match. Later on in the night, you actually had both you had Aiden English and Lana arguing with each other about what was going on and why he was doing what he's doing. Rusev stops both of them and just simply says the words, "Maybe neither of you is good enough for Rusev Day," and storms off. You had a backstage segment with R-Truth and Ty Dillinger, and Ty Dillinger basically was pumping up, pep talking R-Truth for his match with Samoa Joe. I actually liked the pep talk. I thought it was a pretty good one, and Ty Dillinger was showing that he was probably a little bit better with a microphone than what most of us would really think. On that one, I thought this was a decent enough promo that led to the match with Samoa Joe and R-Truth. Ended very quickly with Samoa Joe winning. R-Truth did get some offense in, but it was a pretty quick match. Samoa Joe winning with a coquina clutch. Nothing much to it, and it wouldn't be the last time we see Samoa Joe either. After this, we had an Asuka interview. They did the same bit as before, and she was overly excited, like massively excited, which honestly, I guess I get it for the for the Evolution pay-per-view, and said that she was ready, but tonight Billie Kay is not ready. They did also have a promo with the Iconics as well, where they cut it with the iPhone promos for them, basically saying Asuka was not iconic to go along with that. The match with Billie Kay and Asuka ended very quickly as well. Asuka looking dominant once again. She won with a series of 3 kicks to the head, a little bit of back and forth beforehand, and then Asuka wins it with that series of kicks to win the match. Up next, you had a Shinsuke Nakamura promo, which was, I thought this was good, and it's kind of solidifying that, you know, this thing with him and Jeff Hardy's not over with, but he's going to be in there with Randy Orton as well, with a match for Randy Orton as well, which will probably lead to some kind of triple threat for the U.S. title at not Survivor Series, but SummerSlam. At least that's how I'm feeling on that one. But he basically said Hardy got bit by the Viper, but he was like, but he told Randy Orton that, you know, be careful because I bite back. So he kind of solidified both of those. That, you know, he's going after both of them to go along with that. Up next, we had Paige coming out with to do the contract signing to reveal AJ Styles' opponent for SummerSlam. This does bring out AJ Styles. He cuts the promo about defending the title on SummerSlam and everything on that one. He also got his bit in there as well during the whole, I may mention to it earlier that he also got a bit in there with about talking about WWE Evolution as well in the inside of this promo. And then he signs the contract and he says, well, that leaves only you to reveal who my opponent's going to be, to Paige. And she's like, okay, can I get a drum roll and everything? So we start getting the whole drum roll and everything. And lo and behold, whose music hits but James Ellsworth. This is great. This whole bit was great. James Ellsworth, he comes out, cuts a promo on AJ Styles saying the reason why he was truthfully back was because he's beaten AJ 3 times before and he wants the WWE Championship. Paige does stop Ellsworth and calls him a joke to go along with it. And, you know, Ellsworth, you know, basically calls Paige the joke and everything. They have a little bit of back and forth. And I did like this bit that Paige basically says, I've got 2 words for you. In the background, you hear it slightly. You don't hear it completely, but you hear the crowd say, suck it. And I like how Paige responded to it as like, not those 2 words. And then she says, you're fired. And she gets security out there to take Ellsworth to the back. She goes along with them to make sure he leaves the building. They get to the door, and she literally kicks him out of the building. It was kind of cool. Back in the ring, though, this led Samoa Joe to attack AJ Styles, and he ends up choking out AJ Styles, leaving him lying, and signs the contract for the WWE title match. This would have been a nice little bit if they didn't reveal later that he was truthfully the one that was picked. But they did pretty much in the next segment reveal that he was the one that was picked. Because Joe was walking backstage right afterwards. And Paige comes up to him and is like, what were you doing? And it's like, I picked you because, and I like this, I picked you because you were unpredictable. You had a killer instinct. And Joe fired back, is like, you're right. I am unpredictable. And it's like, what did I just do? That was unpredictable. Showing killer instinct. What you did, what you wanted to do was pedestrian, but what I did was phenomenal. Walks off. Within that same segment as well, Carmella comes in, and they have a bit of back and forth as well with Paige and Carmella. Carmella not happy that Ellsworth got fired, and then Paige is like, it's like you say Mella is money, so you could go, you know, get yourself another dude to have your back and everything. And she was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go beat Becky Lynch, which ended out being next Becky Lynch versus Carmella. If Becky Lynch wins, she goes on to SummerSlam to have a match against Carmella for the title on that one. And Becky Lynch won this match. I thought this was a good match too. They had some good back and forth throughout the match, and I thought this was actually a pretty good match with both of them, ending it with Carmella looking like she was going to try to pick up a cheap cheating victory to win the match, but eventually gets put into the disarm her by Becky, and Carmella taps out. To that, Becky Lynch picks up the win and goes on to SummerSlam. I thought it was a pretty good match. Up next, you had a Bludgeon Brothers promo, quick promo on the match the tag title tournament, and by tag title tournament I mean tag team #1 contendership tournament. They said 4 teams, so we know it's going to be 4. We're going to get the first match next, and the basic promo with them saying is like, it doesn't matter, there's no winners, there's only a bludgeoning coming to go along with that. And that led to the first match in that tournament, which was going to be the New Day going up against Sanity, and Sanity's going nowhere. Sanity was so much better in NXT again. I don't know if it's an aspect of the... I don't feel like they're ruining Sanity, but they're giving them a lot of losses really soon on that side of everything. New Day goes over in this match, which I thought it was a rather shorter match, but it was a pretty good match on that side of everything. It's just like, where are they going with Sanity on this one? And you also had the Usos on commentary. They were talking about their match next week with The Bar. They also did bits with the Pancakes, everything on that side. Afterwards, they were going for a stare down with the New Day, but Sheamus and Cesaro returned, and they basically cut their promo. I like how they were like, "Did you miss us? Well, we didn't miss you." I like classic heel stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I like the classic heel stuff, and I thought it was pretty good. On that side, they cut their promo on the Usos for next week. The stare down happened with all 3 teams. Basic stuff, not bad, but nothing great. You had Miz and Maurice backstage. They were with Paige. Paige was like, talking with Monroe Sky and everything on that one. And Miz was going like, "So did you find a babysitter?" And it's like, yes, I did. And she brings in Sin Cara. And I love Miz's reaction. Miz's reaction was so good to this, and Miz was like, how could a babysitter wear a mask? And Sin Cara looked like he was completely up for the whole thing. He wanted to be the babysitter as well. He had diapers and everything, and then it was like, no, Miz was like, "No, we'll have Monroe come out there. It seems like she needs to have her TV appearance." Her first TV appearance in front of the live crowd. And then Miz puts on the daddy carrier, which was great as well. And they go for their Miz TV / world premiere party thing that they were doing. By the way, once they come out there, you can kind of tell it wasn't a real baby. You could kind of tell where it was going, and I was completely fine with it. Yeah, I could agree with that. It seems more digestible. Like, SmackDown just seems more digestible than Raw. We'll leave it at that on that one. But this led to that. This was like, they wanted to do the whole bit where they show a teaser for the show and everything that was going to be airing right afterwards. And of course, I loved what they did with this, because they did the full voiceover of the actual TV commercial for the Miz and Mrs. show, but they started showing all the like weird clips from Miz's past, like the little bits where Maurice was actually not liking him, the bit where he forgot the telephone number for what was back then the Diva search, and everything. And of course, Daniel Bryan appears on the screen afterwards like, "I don't know what happened there. That was not the video we planned on having." And he even makes mention to the video editors like, he seems to be 0 for 2 right now on this stuff. Dang. Which does, and he was like, "You know what? I've got to say I'm sorry to you, but I'm not going to do it back here. I'm going to do it out there. So Daniel Bryan comes out, security stops him, but he gets rid of the security, and this is the point that, you know, Miz is like in the ring, is like, no, no, and then he's like, throws the baby doll. He throws the baby doll to Bryan. I like Bryan's reaction because he was playing it up as that was actually Miz's baby and everything initially. So he freaks out a little bit and catches the baby doll, which leads to him getting booted in the face, skull-crushing finale. And I love how Miz just at the end is like, that is like, did you really think that was the real Monroe Sky? That was an actor baby, and that was a baby doll. I would never bring my child to a city like this. Playing it off again. I like cheap heel heat. It works. It's good. Even the best heel down in NXT that we'll be talking about here very soon does a lot of his heel heat with cheap heel heat, but it works. Keyword: it works. Overall, SmackDown I thought was pretty good, and of course they haven't officially announced. They have not officially announced Daniel Bryan versus The Miz yet, but more than likely we're going to get Daniel Bryan versus The Miz at SummerSlam, and should be a fun match. They have enough story. They really have enough story to really play off of that throughout the entire time. So this brings us to WWE NXT that aired on July the 25th, 2018. This was a pretty good show as well. I thought it was a pretty good show, at least. It led to some storyline development, and we had quite the shocker as well on the show. Quite a shocker if you didn't read spoilers. We'll leave it at that. So they started off the show with Adam Cole going up against Sean Maluta. Adam Cole won. This was a decent but short match between them. Adam Cole cut a promo talking about how he gives anybody, a chance. He gives them opportunities. He gave Sean Maluta an opportunity, not for the title, but an opportunity to win the, have a match with Adam Cole. And he calls out anybody to accept a challenge with him, which brings Ricochet. Ricochet comes out, basically calls Adam Cole a liar and a coward for that, and that he wouldn't really put up the North American Championship against anybody. Challenges him to the match, but Adam Cole. Oh my God, those are two completely separate things right there. In the terms of the two Coles. But Adam Cole refuses, and he says, "I'm not going to soil that. I'm not going to soil me with having to face Ricochet because I'll just easily win to go along with it." This does bring out the rest of Undisputed Era as Adam Cole had backed away, and it looked like he was going to start coming back. But then the War Raiders music hits, and they come out, and it's like, okay, now it's evened up, and lo and behold, it's like, okay, Undisputed Era goes to leave. They go through the crowd. Who do they get caught by? Mustache Mountain. And Mustache Mountain chases them off after getting a little bit of revenge based off of them losing the NXT Tag Team titles back to the Undisputed Era. So now we have the now we have this little thing that it could lead to two different takeovers, really. If you really look at it, it could lead to two different takeovers. More than likely, this will probably lead to a triple threat for the tag team title match, for the tag team titles at TakeOver Brooklyn. At least that's where I feel like it would end up going. And it might also have a match with Ricochet and Adam Cole at that particular takeover as well. But not only that, you could play this off as we might see our War Games match right there. Undisputed Era versus Ricochet and War Raiders versus Mustache Mountain and more than likely Pete Dunne to go along with it. And that could be a really good match if they're really playing it off like that as well. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with everything on that side. Up next, we had a contract signing in the back, which, guess what? We got a William Regal sighting. He has not been around for a while. Apparently, he had an illness. Seems like he is back, though. He was doing the contract signing for Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler. And you know, basic stuff here, nothing really crazy. It's not like a WWE one when that always ends out going into a brawl. They basically cut promos on each other. Kairi's a little bit Kairi's was a little bit shorter, basically saying it's like, I know, you know, I can beat you, type of style. Shayna going off on Kairi, saying it's like, she talks not only about like Kairi, you know, and stumbling over the words. She talks about Kairi, but also talking about all the NXT women's division, saying that they're more pretenders than they are really contenders, and everything, going off on not only Kairi, but for, what was it, for off of Candice LeRae as well, Dakota Kai, everything on that side, which actually led to a little bit later in the night, with Shayna Baszler getting confronted by Candice LeRae, basically Candice trying to get her to talk the trash to her face, but while she was getting held back by, I believe it was either Serena, no, I think it was Sarah Maldonado. It was like the head trainer for the Performance Center on the female side, of everything. So that led to that confrontation a little bit later. You also had Lacey Evans going up against Tennille Price. This was pretty much a squash match. Nothing really crazy to say about this one. Lacey Evans going over with the right hand again on this one. Pretty much a squash match. Lacey kind of staying in control throughout the entire match. Nothing too much to it. Bianca Belair promo happened, and this was I liked what they did with this one, because the interviewer talks to Bianca as like, it's like, how did you feel because they didn't clear you for last week's Fatal 4-Way, so it became a triple threat? I like Bianca Belair's answer, which was, it's like, I shouldn't even be there. I was undefeated. I should just have the title match. And then kind of ends it, but as she's walking away, you just hear in the background going like, undefeated. Undefeated. And just kept going and kept talking as she was going. You could just hear it in the background. Liked it. I thought it was great. And this leads us actually to the main event of NXT, which is Tommaso Ciampa going up against Aleister Black for the NXT Championship. And oh boy, what a match this was. This was a really good match. And by the way, Tommaso Ciampa might have the best theme song in WWE. And by that, I mean just a chorus of boos. He has no theme music. His theme music is the people booing him as he's coming out to the stage when his name appears on the Tron. That is perfect. That is great. By the way, he actually has heel heat in a smarky area. Well played. Well played. And this was just a great match overall. It's really hard to really talk too much about it. I did not take too many notes in this match because I was just like, you know, it wasn't like it was fast hitting and everything like that. I was just enthralled into the match. But some good back and forth in there. They did start off where it looked like they were just wrestling a little bit more, and then it goes to the outside. That's where Aleister Black starts bringing in the strikes. And Tommaso's trying to, you know, do everything he can to take that away at any point in time, even to a point towards the end of the match, close towards the end. He took Aleister Black and shoved him to the barricade area, but he hits one of the camera guys, and this is after Tommaso Ciampa had pulled up the padding to show the concrete. So this caused the referee to get distracted a little bit, and Tommaso Ciampa uses a crutch to try to knock out Aleister Black. Aleister Black kicks out, but the referee also goes back to check on the guy that was out there. Back in the ring, you all of a sudden, it's like, it looked like Tommaso Ciampa was going to do something else to Aleister Black, but Aleister Black sends him into the ropes, sending the referee down to the concrete, which he took a massive bump on that one. And then Aleister Black hit Black Mass. No pinfall because nobody was there. And of course, Aleister's trying to get the referee back in. This allowed for Tommaso Ciampa to what was it? He started gouging the eye. I like how he does it because he makes it feel like in such a menacing way that you have to boo it on that one. Again, the things he does are so good because you just want to boo it because there's no redeeming qualities at all. What's the redeeming quality of Tommaso Ciampa? Nothing. So you boo him. It's great. I love it. I love that. You just boo the guy on that one. So he grabs the NXT title. When he gets into the ring, though, lo and behold, who shows up? It's Johnny Gargano. He super kicks him. Then they have a tug of war over the title, which Johnny wins, but he gets sent back and he accidentally hits Aleister Black. Aleister Black with the title, which caused Tommaso Ciampa to pick up the victory and pick up the NXT Championship. Yes, Tommaso Ciampa is the NXT champion, and this is probably going to lead to something with all three of them, more than likely, because I don't see them doing a rematch with Aleister Black, and at least not on NXT TV. I don't see them doing just another rematch. I feel like they're going to probably be getting Johnny Gargano in on this one in some way, shape, or form, and we might be getting a triple threat for the title at NXT TakeOver. But overall, another good NXT. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good NXT. And that's pretty much everything. That's pretty much everything for this week. So I don't really have anything else for this week on that side of everything. So that is going to end this episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle this week. For anybody who tuned in live, and Batman who keeps the Batman who keeps our chat nice and going throughout the entire time, and gives me something to interact with as well. To go along with it, I always thank you for coming in, and I find it very it makes it even more enjoyable for doing these live to go along with that. So I thank you for always keeping the chat going on that side, and with that, we will end this episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle. I thank you guys for watching. For everybody who tuned in live, I thank you guys for watching. For anybody else, and I see a question in the chat, and I will accept that question. Go right on ahead, as we do keep on going. So I will wait for the question. I don't know if I'll keep talking though. I'm not sure. I'm just going to talk randomly. We'll have to set up something if you we'll have to set up something for down the line, maybe for a question segment after we get through NXT and everything on that side. Maybe that's something for later on. That is definitely something for later on. For everything. Maybe we can start taking just a question section, or at least one question a week. What do you think? I like this question. The Batman has been coming here for... Okay, the Batman has been coming here for a while. So, don't you think the Batman deserves a mod? Yes. Yes, you do. That is the answer to that question. You are now a moderator here for the chat. Especially if we're going to be coming down here a little bit later on with... maybe potentially bringing some of the live reactions back over here, or we're going to be over on the Twitch page as well. Which, by the way, if Batman also wanted to join in on the Twitch side, and for anyone who wants to join in on the Twitch side, because we have been doing some of the live reactions over there, the link is down in the description. If you join in over there, Batman as well, I'll make you a moderator on my chat over on Twitch as well to go along with it. So you have been coming around, and you've definitely been keeping everything interesting, and it's not just always me just talking to go along with it. So yeah, you definitely deserve to be a moderator over here on our live stream channel in general. And again, I guess we will end this one this week. And again, we will hopefully be back next week for another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle. I thank you guys for watching who watched live. For anybody who's watching later as well, thank you guys for watching to go along with that. Peace out, everybody. And I hope you have yourself a great rest of your night.